Test, test. Okay, cool. All right. So, right about that time, howdy, folks. My name's Dave. I'm a woodturner. I started turning as therapy for PTSD, found out I had a knack for it, fell in love with it. It's awesome therapy, I got to say. Then I started teaching it, fell in love with that too. So, I started this channel to become a better teacher, a better demonstrator, and a better turner because the secret sauce is always the same. It's practice, practice, practice. There's no shortcuts. You got to get behind the lathe. So, um, thank you for joining me this evening. And the more I find it, the world of wood turning in general, and I could name specific names too, even I guess, but we'll leave that aside. But in general, it's a circular kind of um, society. Things get shared, and the community is fairly open, and the sky's the limit. There are I can't even imagine all the um, possibilities that wood turning can provide to not just artwork, but I mean everyday life. I mean people, we turn turners turn parts for weavers. Architectural turnings, furniture. I do some of that. There's just your particular perspective on it is always welcome. You might have something to teach everyone else. Don't sell yourself short, man. You might find out you really enjoy wood turning. So give it a shot. Thanks for joining me on this Twitch Tuesday. I think I may have everything set up. I had a little bit of an issue. One, getting one of the cameras to work, and then two, getting the microphone to work. So it looks like we've got it all set. I'm going to start off this evening. I turned this last week. It's been a busy week. Alas, I haven't spent any time turning really since Wednesday. I've done just a little bit. Started turning this hollow, or this, well, we might as well just call it a box. It is a hollow form. A bowl is a hollow form. It just happens to be an open hollow form. And I like the shape. It reminds me of a thistle. So I'm going to start off by finishing this guy, and playing around with the topper and all that with it. I've got some ideas, and then I want to move on to the cherry burl, which hopefully we'll get to tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow. And I've been waiting on that for sure. So let's get this guy reversed because I need to turn the foot off, turn off this whole base and create a foot. How I want it to sit on whatever surface it's on. And while it could be a little tough right now, I bet I could make a jig though. So if I wanted to angle this, if I wanted to angle this, I would have done that earlier on in the process. But say I changed my mind and, I think it would look better tilted. Then I would work on making a jig or getting this in such a way that I could get that tilted foot the way I wanted to. I wouldn't be able to move it much here now because I've only got, say, half an inch worth of tenon, and even not all that. Some of it has to be the foot. Speaking of which, I should mark the bottom of this so I know how deep I should not go. I want to maintain a fairly even wall thickness throughout the piece. And let me also turn on that camera. Paranoid Squatch. Hey, man, how you doing? Thank you again. Big shout out to Paranoid Squatch, who reminded me that today was Tuesday. It's been a day. Really cool day. Spent a lot of time in the bee yard, but I was working on an interview with one of the folks from Interlochen Public Radio about beekeeping, about
Boost 1452 said was going
heroes
to
to
say it's
hives,
not red.
right? And heroes to hives, and got to talk about the farm bill, which is a problem. Anyway, it was very, very cool. And then go work with some students of mine with their apiary. So that was cool. But all that ran together, kind of spaced out that today was actually Tuesday. So thank you, Paranoid Squatch, for calling me, man. Appreciate it. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have made it on, or I'd have realized too late. I just felt like, I don't know. I thought for some reason it was Monday today. For some reason that slipped into my head. So I don't know. It's not Monday. So I need to take this guy and turn down this base and create a foot. So I've marked the depth on the inside, which is right there. So I need to leave at least this much on the bottom. So all this stuff is going to go away, but I got to bring this shape down to meet down here, which won't be a big deal. But just going through the steps I've got to do to get rid of this. Let's see. I got my glasses on my head, so I'll put those on now. That might be all right. Adjust my tool rest height. I just found out too this morning that the parts for my big lathe are on the way. Man, I'm really excited. This is a great lathe. I'm not denigrating this lathe at all. This is a really nice lathe, and I'm glad I've been able to still keep going and not have to, I don't know, come up with other content or simply skip out on streaming. This has been a wonderful little lathe. It's the one I use when I go do demos and I need to bring a lathe. I bring this guy. Turned a lot of stuff on it, but it'd be nice to get back to the bigger lathe. And so that will be the bottom.
So you can use wooden teeth and like use a wooden blade, but you can't see out of the wooden knot. Safety first. Always wear eye protection.
Right. It reminds me of a terrible joke I heard once. And I'm probably not going to tell it right, so I won't. But it has to do with wood eye and hair lip. Okay. So I'm at my bottom here. I've got slightly concave surface, and actually I want to make sure my tool's not going to roll off. Oops. Get this tenon to be a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to double check the chuck, because it does actually sound like it might have wiggled itself loose a little bit. Yep, sure enough. So check your chuck often, especially when you're in expansion mode, as I am. Safety, as Paranoid Squatch said, should be first. Okay, let's see. So that's my bottom. That's my curve as it is right now. And I don't want to make... off my curve. I don't want to make a very small foot because it's meant to be a box. I'd like it to be useful, so I don't want a really teeny tiny foot, which I could do very easily. So I think what I'm going to do, let's see here, but I think I'm going to make it a beaded base as a foot. But that leaves me open to the possibility of being able to carve that later and making legs out of it. Yeah, that might be all right too. So let's refine this curve a tad. And I'll move into the bead. And I need to adjust my tool rest. And I should probably double check my sound every so often. Did that loosen up again? Yeah, it did a little bit. Well, I'm not trying to crank this thing open and give it a death grip because it's in expansion mode. This is in spindle orientation, so it could split all that apart. I've got basically what 5/16 of wall thickness, not quite a quarter inch. So last thing I want to do is blow this thing apart. So I just go basically finger thumb tight. Use the meat of my hand as the fulcrum for my key here. So the heel of the hand sits there, and then just using the fulcrum against my thumb, that's the tightness that I put on my expansion holds in general. As I don't like them, but I also don't want to bust the piece up, and I don't need to have a death grip. I've now I have tailstock backup. So with those things in place, I shouldn't need to put a lot of brute force into this piece. Okay, that's all looking good. So I'm going to cut as far as I can go with tailstock support, and then I'll just have that little bit of nub there to take off. And that I am confident enough to trust to the expansion hold of this chuck. I understand, and I put it into practice. I don't do a lot of big turnings like that anymore. I mean, I did a couple of large ones, but my lathe really just isn't suited for super big pieces. Even though it's got it's got a 13.5-inch swing, but it's listed as having a 14-inch swing. I still wouldn't want to put any kind of spindle-oriented piece. I mean, I hesitate because it's a one-horse lathe, this guy down here, and having a huge, foot-wide piece that is 3 or 4 foot long to make, or even 2 feet long to make a vase is kind of putting a strain on the one-horse motor and all that. It's a nice lathe, don't get me wrong. And I mean, it's had its issues like other equipment does. I've had lots of time to wait for parts. Some of that was, well, I don't know what some of that was. I could say and be reasonable and say we could attribute some of that to COVID shutdown, that kind of thing. And I did have issues getting parts during the COVID shutdown, which, as you all know, did not turn out to be what they said it was. All right, so I need a slightly concave surface here. What do I do with my ruler? There it is. And I need some light behind that dude. So I need to go down a little bit more in the center, which I kind of figured I hopefully will not bump that camera with my head too many times. There we go. And then now my decision is, do I want to carve out feet for that? Let me run some abrasive on this first. Get that like the rest of it. Let's see, that's 220, yay. And that's 220, hooray. So we'll get this surface to match, and then we'll take another look at it. Well, now that I am looking at it, but you know what? I will double check my depth. This should be this bottom now should be like 5/16 of an inch thick, really close. Which means that I'm going to have to get a little bit creative if I want to carve legs into this thing. However, with the round shape that it has, I think that I can do it. But I want to look at it first and see, is that what I want to do? Looking at it sideways, the answer is pretty much yes, but that's from only one angle. Okay. So if we set this dude down, we're going to put the key. Hopefully it went back into the drawer where it belongs. No, it's underneath the lathe. So if I set that down and look at it, you know, it really doesn't detract from the shape to leave it that way. I still, let me double check the, let's take that out of there. Let me double check the depth. See what I actually have to work with. I did have to make the surface concave a little bit, so I might have taken a little bit out of that. But actually it's still a little, just a touch thick in the bottom, which would be great for, let's get this light the right way. Great to have that extra material for. Okay, so that is basically about 5/16 of an inch thick. So that is the proper wall thickness where it is right now. This doesn't mean I can't do feet if I choose to. I'll just have to follow that curve around this way, and that will leave me a thicker band here that I could then work with. What happened here? Oh my gosh, that is a, what is that? Let's see. Where are you? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? I know you're in here somewhere. There you are. I don't know if this is a beetle hole. By golly, it is. I have not, well, that's not true. I guess I have seen beetle attacks to walnut, but not as often as other trees. So that is actually some beetle marks. That's kind of interesting. It's too bad it's there and that's the only one, because now it looks kind of like a mistake. But that is actually beetle holes. Oh, we're leaving it. It's what was there. Okay, so let's clean this up, get the dust off of it, throw down some wax, and take another gander. I may still decide ultimately I want feet on it, but and on your chuck jaws, always check all of the holes that you have available to you to tighten down. It does tighten in general in a concentric fashion, but if you're only tightening one side, the other side is inevitably, even just the tiniest bit, loose. So check them all. This goes in the drawer, Dave. Put it in the drawer. There we go. And I need to grab a paper towel. Slow this down a little bit. Didn't think that would do it all the way. You know what I'm missing? I'm missing the fan. And I need to turn it the right way. There we go. It's looking better. Since it is concave, the support for the sanding will be for the center, or rather from the rim to the center, because we're going downhill. So as I start from the rim, I'm going downhill into the center from any side. So I want to sand it that way so that I have the support of the fibers, sanding with the grain, essentially, rather than going from the center out, because then I stand the chance of lifting a fiber that's taller, pushing fibers out of the way. So I'm only working to the center from each side with the grain. To clean up those little tiny concentric rings there. There's still a little bit there. And you'll get a better finish that way too. Just make sure. Still kind of looks like I've got a little bit going on here. And some of it actually, oh yeah, okay, so some of it's actually running the other way. It's past the halfway point. So that would explain that. I was lifting fibers and not realizing it. Past the halfway point, there we go. Okay. Buffing balm. Oh, and an engraver since I'm on that tack. Let's see, buffing balm is right there. Engraver is over here. And I think I'm not going to carve legs into it. think I'm going to leave it just the way it is. Find an empty slot here for a power cord. I choose this light. Come on. Alrighty then. Been thinking really hard, man. I don't know if I want any detail marks in there. Nah. Leave it the way it is. Right. A bit of paper towel. Let's put the pencil where it belongs so it doesn't fall off. I'm not really happy with that either. Let me, let's grab this guy. Come back here, you. That's better. Really glad I came up with this stuff. I really enjoy using this buffing balm. It smells so nice. Gives the wood a little bit extra glow because of the orange oil. I think it's just really lovely. And it's a lot better than reaching for the petroleum finishes all the time. I really don't like using them, but again, as I've said in the past, when I started finishing pieces, I had to do it inside. It was during the winter. Couldn't do it outside. So I had to come up with ways to put finishes on pieces that didn't involve me choking on petroleum VOCs and whatnot. Speed it up to buff it in. So it is available on my website at woodturns2.art. Send me a message. I'll make sure that we get in contact and I'll get you a tin of this stuff. Speed up A little bit more. Try to get that heat build up. There it goes. Groovy. A little bit of leftover wax in there and right there, but I think I'll leave that because it highlights that. Figure why not call attention to it? What the heck? Oh, now I need to clean it out. Darn it. A little bit of paper towel fuzz in there. Be really careful picking this out so I don't scratch up the surface any that I just buffed. There we go. That is just an interesting. That is beetle holes. That's tiny. Okay. So now it's time to change out the chucks for a couple of reasons. One, I want to work on the lip of this guy. And two, I've got to turn the top of it and the plug. I think there's going to be a plug involved. And with these jaws, yeah, that leaves just a really nice surface sheen to it. It's a matte finish, but I mean it's a wax, beeswax melted into the wood. I really like what it does. So let's match this dude up. Grain. Since I have dovetail jaws, I can get away with doing this. I don't need a super strong hold, and even if it slightly marks the wood, because I've got the grain pattern running along, it'll be less noticeable and appear to be part of the design. So it's not. I could have done it with the other tenon on the other side, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. Okay, move that guy over there. Now it's time to, darn it, take the tailstock away again. Because I just don't have the length of bed on this smaller lathe that I do on the larger lathe. Sliding the tailstock down doesn't give me enough room to get my tools in here with the handles and all that. And I don't need to be sideways to it. So I dressed up the edge on my sidewall scraper. A little low there. That's about right. So I need a place, actually I need to decide now where I'm going to set this lid. I'd really like, I think, the lid to be on top. It could sit down here, that would be okay. But I think I really like to have it on top, so I got to figure that out, and where the And my idea is to have a plug on this dude, so let's clear away some of this and see what we come up with. Make sure I'm square there. I think that's... that might not be deep enough. I'm also not quite square, but I can take it down further. I don't want to take it too far down because then I either got to put a finial on the plug so the person using it can open the darn thing. That might be okay. Might be okay. All right. And now I'm square. Ooh, hey, for those of you who don't understand what I'm doing, let's call this a how do I moment. How do you make sure your walls are square? Well, I have, and this happens to be from Starrett, this ruler. So I have a really high confidence that that is actually 90 degrees on that corner and 90 degrees on that corner. I take the back of the ruler, set it down into whatever surface I'm making. In this case, it's a reset for, reset, an inset for a lid, and I'm going to place a plug on this guy. I want to back that up all the way up to the bottom there, and then line this edge up with the inside of the rim. If all things line up properly, that'll be 90 degrees, and as I sight down this ruler down my ways here, I'll see a straight line. And I see a straight line, so I'm doing good there. If it helps you to do it on the other side where you can actually see that you're backed up against everything, I'm now against the sidewall and at the bottom. So as I look down this, it's pretty doggone square. And that's how I do that. Very handy to have these little rulers hanging around. Not just for measuring, right? Not just for measuring distance or length. I guess distance and length could be considered the same thing. All right, this lamp is not shining where I need it to, so we're going to move that dude. Moving on up. There you go. And let's not put it in front of the camera, but a little bit higher than that. There we go. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to round off that corner a little bit. And I'm just going to do that with my spindle gouge. With a scraping action. And remember, this is in spindle orientation, so I need to cut from the inside out to have support. I'm scraping, but it's still a cut. Still removing material. There we go. And did I lose that guy? I did not. Should be just enough wax on there. Polish that up. There we go. So now what's left for that part is for me to fit the lid to that. But now I need to work on how I want the plug to fit in. So I'm going back to my ruler, and I'm just going to put it right up on the wall there and see how much of an angle I've got. I think I'd like a little bit more angle than that with my plug. So I'm going to just take my sidewall scraper and touch in here a little bit. So the plug's going to be inside this diameter. The lid needs to sit on that diameter. Trying to dampen some of the vibration with my finger resting on the outside. I just need it. It doesn't have to go all the way down into the throat. I just need it big enough for the plug I want to use. There we go. That is a good angle. I'll take that. Let's see, I've got a tool mark here, so I'm going to clean that up. There we go. And that's the name of that tune. So, oh, it wasn't a tool mark, it was a chuck mark. But it's still cleaned up. So now, looking at this, any marks made by the chuck are really fairly imperceptible, and they blend in with the grain because the way I lined it up, and it's still, even if it is a noticed thing, because they're in a particular pattern, it looks like the pattern belongs. It doesn't make the piece look strange or whatever. It blends in, if that's the right term. Everything comes together, right? So, all right, so there is that. That's going to be tricky, isn't it? What if, so if I cut the plug the right shape, then the cap could sit right on top of the plug as well, which might make it difficult, maybe, for someone to set it properly. So how do I want to address that? Well, you know what? I'll think about it as I make the plug. And what material did I get for this guy? I got this, and the honey locust, which is somewhere. Well, that this is big enough. I might use this. Are you big enough? Oh, you are just barely. But that might be the guy. No, not quite wide enough. So I may use this piece of hybrid, resin and wood. I think I might try that first. That's a bummer. That might, if that had been a little bit wider, that'll work. And I've got what is this? This is birch. So birch crotchwood, that would look nice in there actually also. So I'm going to go for this guy first. If it doesn't work out, we'll go with the birch. Now, how do I get to hold on to you? Oh, that might be a thing right there. Let's see. Oops. Nope. That would be probably backwards then, so let's try it this way. It might work. Okay, let's move that aside, move this aside, and clean this up. So this is off the tenon of a resin piece that I did on several different axes. That's why this is laid out the way it is. But I saved this because it's got a really nice piece of burl wood embedded in there. And as I often do, I wondered, hey, I wonder if I can use that sometime in the future. So we'll find out. Too tall. The only issue I have, well, not the only issue, but it is one of the biggest issues I have with resin. You can get some really nice shavings, but it just throws this plastic all over the place.
Sure said, Yak resin webs.
Yep, resin webs, you are dead on. Like spider webs. Kind of looks like that too when you are using CA glue and it's not completely cured. Run stringers all over the place, look like spider webs. So is that what is that? That's a marking resin I got to get rid of. So, and then I'll have to adjust if I can. I want to try to center that wood piece in the middle of the plug if I can do that. I think I'll stop there because that would leave me an opportunity to put a little bit of a dome right there. But we're thinking about the plug for this, aren't we? So this is going to have a finial to be used as a plug. It's not thick enough to carve a little finger hold in there to be able to twist it out. But that's not a negative yet. And then if I do this, gets me my dome. Instead of just a step. Probably isn't tall enough to really make a difference. Let's see. Let's see about. Okay, I want to take this out first. Where are you? You are down in the drawer where you belong. Actually, I can just hold this up there. So I guess it wouldn't matter a whole lot if I tried to center. I can't take a whole lot of material off there. So that would still work. Just be an off-center plug, but with that showing through, that would look really, really nice. I'm thinking. So that actually makes me think I need to make this. How much thickness do I have, though? I mean, it's thick enough. Man, I'm hemming and hawing over this because I'm thinking really, maybe I want to have a wood plug. I mean, that would look really cool. Doesn't have to be in this box, though. All right, wood plug it is. That would look really cool. So we'll save that for when I need something maybe a little bit thinner. This might even be really close to the angle that I'm looking for. It's close. Awesome. All right, so I've got this bit of birch that is crosswood. I don't know how long it's been bumping around the shop, but it's such pretty wood. It's like I'm not going to throw it out, and I'm not going to. I mean, if I needed to burn it, I would, but I wasn't going to throw it out. Partially because I'm a wood hoarder. At least that's what I'm told. Not that I needed to be told that. Let's get rid of that bark. Just got a new knife, and I've been wanting to. I figured tonight would be a great time to use it and see how useful it will be with my woodworking. Not my favorite point. I guess they call it a spear point. But if it will help me out with this kind of stuff, I accept that it is a spear point. Okay, so I'll need to come up just a little bit. All right. Hey, and that also means, I think, so that's going to fit inside, right? But that would also, well, if I go the other way, well, I'll just waste that wood off. It's just the way it goes. I was thinking if I turned it around, but then I'd have to turn it. Oh, but I still could. All right. Let's get rid of all the bark. So if I made that any smaller, that would not fit in this chuck, which is not a deal killer. But then I'd have to change my chuck again. Okay. I guess that wouldn't take long either, but we're here. So I'm just going to turn this away since this will be the bottom of the plug that's actually inside the vessel. And then I will adjust the angle of the side here to make sure that it fits in there properly. We got some air to cut. Let's see, I think it'll be okay if this is actually a square flat bottom, since it's not resting on anything. That'll work. And what I was thinking was, I can bring out my skew. Like I needed an excuse. I don't know. Now I gotta go get it. Okay, let's take a look at this angle again. With better light even. So let's mark this guy. So it needs to go in a little bit more, but it needs to be narrow anyway because of that natural edge. It needs to be turned away. So I'm working without a tailstock on this. If you're not comfortable doing that, grab your tailstock. I think that's really close. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think it would be better if I had light on this other side. So that is a future thing. That is the right angle. No, actually, it's just close to the right angle. So I see that this natural edge is going to be a lot of material I'm going to have to remove. A lot being a relative term, specific to this piece of timber. Still feel like that's off, but let's speed it up some. So I'm using the point of the tool so that I can eliminate some of the vibration of the piece while I remove that material. Still got it there. Well, maybe I can't use that side. I'm going to have to take it down quite a bit. Up here, though, that won't matter so much. Decisions. Let's see. I'd like to save some of this material if I can. Let's see where that lines up. Yep, might be better off coming in from the other side. So I guess that means that's what I'm doing. Hopefully that works. If that doesn't, I'll have to change chucks. But I'll also have to adjust that tenon a little bit. Pretty sure it's too small. Oh, just too small. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. Just a hair too small. It's almost there. Easy there, killer. Get some of these tools out of your way, Dave. Now it won't bottom out in the chuck when I make this tenon. Sorry if I'm not talking very loud. Yeah, I want to make a tenon. I don't want it to bottom out in the chuck, so I had to come up in diameter a little bit. That'll work right there. And for this guy, we'll be bringing up the tailstock. Or will I? That should be more than enough to work with. Yep. So I just need to get my angle right now. Oh, that's going to be a problem. Let's bring that up. There we go. And I actually think I want this straight. Yeah, maybe it'll angle better. You know, this is not helping. That's why I have this light, so it will help me. It's not helping. Okay, so it looks like I think I got the angle correct. But it's still not helping. Four and one. We'll put that line right there. Did I put it in the drawer? No, I did not. Then where did I put it? Right there. Oh, yep, that is the right angle. Okay, in fact, looks like that plug will fit perfectly. And it does grip. Doesn't have to grip, but it does grip a little bit. Would love to use a feeler gauge on this, but yeah, that looks right. But it wouldn't show up very well since it's such a slight angle and a very small distance that that angle travels. I think now would be a great time for the 1/4 inch skew. Yep, that's the one. All right, cool. How far down? You know what? I got a flashlight over here. Maybe that'll help me on this side. How far down does it go? Right to that line. Yep. That is what I was after. Okay. Flashy light thingy. Ah, Butamus. Okay. Yep. Alright. So, custom fit for that guy. So what I'm going to do here is make that bottom part just a little bit concave. It doesn't need to be, but a little bit more room on the inside, so to speak. And hopefully I will eventually stop bumping this camera with my head. Another reason why I'm looking forward to having the parts for the bigger lathe. I'm not standing up so tall and bumping into things here. So just a little bit concave. A little bit of detail right here. Oh no! Resin spider webs. That won't let me go. Had to double check and make sure it wasn't an actual spider web there for a second. Okay. Let's move back over to that side. You can see this is running true, this is running true, but that little bit isn't, and I want to put a detail mark there anyway. Curve going down there, that was a mistake. Let's see what kind of damage that did. Huh. Well, fortunately, it looks like I didn't contact the wood with the edge on that one. So I need to round this over a little bit. And then blend it into where my little lippy detail mark there is. Did I clean all that up? I sure did. Just cool having all that curl in there. All right, let's see. Now the plug itself doesn't need to be that deep. The thought does occur to me that perhaps I might wish to make that a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change this a bit. And we'll make that detail mark a little bit bigger so I have Plenty of room to grab it by the chuck so I can turn it from the other side. Might need to be a little deeper than that even. We'll find out here shortly. As long as I've got about a 1/16 of an inch, it should be golden. Alright, looking pretty good. Let's make sure that's going to work. Oh, no, it needs to be bigger yet. Alright. And we will do that. So I guess I'm turning away a little bit more of the wood than I really wanted to, but that's okay. And then round this corner off again. And that's it right there. Good deal. Nope, nope, not. Come all the way up. Come on, come on. All right, double check this guy with a good bit of light. So you adjust the angle again. Took off a little more than I wanted to, but didn't get the first tenon right. Still got lots of material there. Let's say it's all kind of a relative thing. It needs to be up higher. almost got it the first go. All right, let's do this. I think I'm making it too difficult on myself here. Trying to work around all this mass. Let's take some off that side. Before I get too far. And actually, that tenon is small enough to sand or saw off very quickly. So I'll do that. Okay. Put that piece back in the bin of chunks. Maybe adjust the angle just a little bit. Come on. Oh, that's right. My tool rest is too low. Well, let's check that. I think that was... Oh, I can't. All right. I guess I'll have to scrape that one in, but since that is the part of the plug that needs the grip, I think that'll be just fine. Where are you? There you are. There we go. That is the angle I need. So now let's work on... I'm going to have to do a little bit of carving on this, but not a lot. How much do I want to take off of there? About half of it. Okay. Come on. Too many tools. Too many tools. Yeah, that's kind of silliness. Use a larger spindle gouge would make a little more sense. That's why you don't leave them up there, Dave. Well, at least that was the first tool that got knocked off the lathe, and that wasn't vibration, that was my hand. Okay. Okay, that is the right height. Maybe a shade more. Let's see. No, that looks like... Nope, needs just a hair more off there to meet flush. And that one I will use the smaller spindle gouge for. Oh, forgot. I need to round this over just a bit. There we go. Yep. All right, so now I need to work out how I'm going to have a little finger hold there. So what I think I'm going to do, actually, is leave it the way it is. And make this the handle. And since I want the handle to be the strongest it can possibly be, I want the grain to run along the handle. So let me clean this off, or rather, that would be a nice little detail. Sorry, I'm trying not to bump the camera with my big noggin. There we go. That'll be a neat little detail on there. Pass through that edge. Okay, so the grain is running this way now. And that's where I want to take my cuts. I'm going to grab the saw. I'm not going to use that saw. I will use this one instead. Got finer teeth on it. And I think I will make them about that big right there. And that might actually be easier to cut off the spindle here, so let's do that. I need a break bar. There we go. If it will work. No. That did though. I was off a little bit on that too, so I'll have to sand that a bit. Or I could just leave it and it'll be sideways. Nah, let's make it look better. There we go. It's always a little bit harder cutting directly into end grain. And then same thing for the other side. Close enough, not close enough. That should do. And maybe a little bit more out of here. A little bit more out of here. Oops. Spindle was locked. So let me set this aside for a few moments while I clean up that saw mark right there. cut this the rest of the way through. Where are you? There you are. And the same thing for this side. Lock the spindle down. Starting to look like a handle. Don't push that button, Dave. This button over here. And I'll still carve a little bit of an indentation here with my Dremel so I can get a little bit better handle on that. But that will be good to go as a plug once I sand it up. Let's put this, and I'll do that after I do the carving. And hey, I can do that like while we're on the air. I've got a micromotor I can bring out. Okay. So a nice little piece of birch that will sit in there like a plug, and then the lid will sit on that, and with a little twist, maybe the other direction, there, the plug will seat. Won't be a heavy seal, but you know, it'll be somewhat of a seal. So let's work on the lid next, which I believe I'm going to be using. Did I put you down here? Yes. Some honey locust. So how tall do I want this guy? That or that? I think the whole, yeah. So first thing I want to do is I want to set this up to be able to use my pin jaws. This is the lid. I need to get the diameter set. And then shape it, but I need to hollow it out also a little bit so that I can use the pin jaws. And I thought a nice, slightly taller lid would look nice. Wait, no, I'm not taking into account the finial I want to put on this dude. Alright, since we're already to that size, this is a concave surface. Spit it around, and this time I'm actually going to seat it in the bottom of the jaws all the way down, but because I have a concave surface, it's only going to sit on the rim right there on the jaws. And even if it doesn't, and it does, but even if it wouldn't, I'm still only going to use about half the thickness of this thing. So even if it was out of round or off balance or off center, that wouldn't matter. So, got to sneak up on the size for this guy. Let's get rid of that plug. We just need it to sit on there. Ooh, got a little bit more to go. Got to sneak up on it. Where am I riding on that? Okay. Almost there. Stay. Okay, so that is the right diameter. And that will work. Doesn't need to be a friction fit lid. Okay, so we got that part. Now I need to set myself up with a recess to hold that in the chuck. Two-tone. A little bit. No, let's not make this a really heavy lid. Let's make it kind of thin. Excuse me. I think that works. Hey, easy there, killer. Chamfer my corners. That one's already chamfered. Excuse me. And before I switch to another chuck. Yep, it'll sit right where it needs to. And yeah, separate it right at that line. Actually, what would be easier would be if I take this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. So that's my line. That line. So that is the bottom inside. Let's see, I thought I lost a magnet there. Here we go. And now let's part this dude off. Oh, did I neglect something? I sure did. Good thing I got a good tenon on there. This does not have a square side. We'll need that for the pin jaws. All right. All right, groovy. So let's get this guy set aside. Oh man, see that's what I mean. I don't. Yeah, golly. This is a reversing lathe. I could have just held onto the chuck and reversed the lathe and let it spin itself off, but I've gotten so used to having a unidirectional lathe that I don't even think about that stuff. I see people do it online all the time. I'm like, gee, I wish I could do that, but then again, I keep forgetting. Am I going the wrong direction? I don't appear to be. It's a little too wide. There we go. It really should be running true. See if I can see where the issue is. Ah. Oh, you know what? I don't think I need pin jaws with that one. Let's see. I might be able to use this guy. Yes. All right. Not that pin jaws are bad, but as far as this application, it would be much nicer to use the standard jaws for this. See, it did it again. I just talked about it. I did it again. So I can get a little tighter on this only because it's honey locust and because of the experiences that I've had with honey locust. It's a very stout wood. But again, anything that you see that you're not comfortable with doing because of your skill set, it just takes practice. Just practice, practice. Don't jump into anything you're not comfortable with. Where's my tool? Is that my tool? Yes, that's my tool. Oops. Get a really nice burnish from the tool. Well, I like that. I think that would be a nice accompaniment to this walnut. All right, let's throw a little abrasive on this guy.
Fuel said, nice cut.
Thank you. You too can do this with practice. I think I got a chuckle. I did, I swear, because I was at one of the shows I was doing, and younger feller than me walked up to me and he was holding, I forget what he was holding. What was he holding? I can't remember what it was that he even was talking about. But it wasn't the piece that he was. He asked me, how'd you turn this? Or he said, what's your secret? And I said, practice. He goes, oh, I get it. You don't want to tell me and give away your secrets and stuff. I said, no, that's the secret. I'm telling you flat out, it's practice. There is no hidden secret technique. It's just the time behind the wheel. I don't think there should be any secret hidden techniques from anybody, because how do I know that I might be holding somebody else back? There's no secrets in wood turning, man. Oh no, I don't want to do that. That's what I want to do. The biggest secret, and a lot of people don't talk about it. It's because it's the biggest secret in wood turning. People, people been around a while, turning for a while, and learning to be, learning to work their tools and get the tool skills up to a level that they want to be at. They don't say it as much. I mean, haven't heard it anywhere near as much as I say it. It's like you too can do stuff like this. You just have to put the time in. I put a lot of time in, so some of this stuff, people say, oh, you make that look easy. Well, I do, but it's only because I've done it about 10,000 times. Um, that's the only reason it looks like I make it look easy. I've done it repetitively. And that's what is the biggest secret in wood turning, I think, is like people don't seem to understand. Okay, if I learn a technique, I should be able to go home and replicate it immediately. Well, it depends on where your tool skills are. You're not going to replicate necessarily everything you learn in classes or from other turners or whatever, wherever you learn it from, until you put the practice in to actually do the process. And I don't know. I think that is part of the wonderful part of wood turning, is that it is like there is no secret and it's all practice. I mean, you have to learn the right way to use the tools, or the right way. You have to use, I would think that it's important to learn the most efficient way, not the right way, because my way is not the right way. It's what works for me. But there's a lot of information, tons of little tiny pieces to this lifelong puzzle, or the journey, life, however long the journey is going to last, for that whole puzzle to come together. All those pieces got to line up, and then I have to put them together, and do it through turning. You can learn all the cool techniques in the world that you want. They won't do you any good if you don't practice them, or if you give up too soon because, by golly, I learned this from this guy and I could do it at that class, but now I can't do it on it's my lathe, or whatever the excuse is. And it's none of those things. It's the fact that you haven't put the amount of time in that maybe you need to. I really enjoy teaching this stuff, and it's the same thing that I tell people over and over and over, man. You're not going to be an instant master of it. It's just not how it works. It's like everything else. Everything else that you want to master, it takes practice and applying yourself to it. Otherwise, you're not going to get any further. I think I lost my piece of abrasive, so I'm grabbing another one. So if you want to improve your turning, yes, you must. I think it's very important that you learn from a turner who knows what they're doing, not just any Joe Blow. If you really want to learn the techniques, you need to find a good instructor who teaches you the safest and most efficient way to use the tools that they can. There's lots of names out there, and my name is now in the ring too. I teach, and I do teach proper tool handling skills. See, I hate words like that. The most efficient tool handling skills,
Captain
and the rest of it gets.
Dave Live. Just getting back from SWAT. What are you up to tonight?
Nice. How was the trip? How was the trip, sir? So I'm making a little box with a plug and then a cap that goes over the top of that. I thought I might put a finial on it, but I'm not going to now. I'm just going to bead the sides so that it can be lifted up. And I really should check. I thought, well, I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I guess I'm on the fence about the finial. I like how that looks. And I think that looks pretty nice. And that still reminds me of a thistle. I think that'll work. I don't need a finial or anything on it. That just comes right off. It's not a friction fit. So you know what? I'm going to leave it that way. All that matters is the friction fit for that guy, because that's the plug. So just a little bit of a twist and the wood grain locks in. Maybe I've got to go the other way. Almost had it.
Captain L1.
But anyway,
said, great show.
It's a little box, little plug box. So there we have it. Oh, there we go. I got it to see. But anyway, the plug fits where it needs to. The cap rides on both, and I think that's a nice little piece. So I think I'm done with that piece, other than finishing that guy. And then I do need to carve in a little bit for some finger holds on that, which I'll grab the micro motor and do that in a little bit. But let's finish this guy first. With Baldy's buffing balm. So I need a clean piece of paper towel. And bring this guy. What this does, this stuff, I mean, it adds glow to the woods, whatever wood you're using. But if the wood happens to have a yellowish or orangish or reddish timber to it, it adds even more glow. It really makes it pop, I think. So I like using this stuff on things like honey locust and cherry and red heart, stuff like that, because it really adds a little bit more depth and glow to it. And I put a little bit too much on here, but that's okay. Don't need much of this stuff. But anyway, I guess that would be the best advice: is to get some instruction from a well-heeled. I don't know what the term would be, but a turner who is not fly by night. They actually know what they're doing. Get those skills and then practice those skills and adjust them to your own body mechanics, but practice those skills. That's the only way you're going to improve. Just taking classes and collecting instructors isn't going to do it for you. That would be nice, but that is not how it's going to work out. Don't do anything with the knowledge that you've gained. In other words, if you don't practice, then that knowledge isn't going to help you. Give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself, because learning new techniques is not something everybody can just pick up and run with. Give yourself the permission to make mistakes, because you're going to. So don't beat yourself up about it. Make the mistake, learn what you can learn from it, improve your skills, and move on. Adjust your skills accordingly, I guess, would be the better way to say that, rather than improve your skills, because that's why you go to take classes and stuff like that. There you are. Wow, man, that really popped that out. So that's the color it was. And that's the color it is now. Gave it just a lot of glow. And if I line the grain up like that, ooh, man, and the grain lines up so nicely. How lucky is that? That is awesome. All right, so time to carve this guy. So there's my little thistle pot. Dust that dude off. I just couldn't I couldn't have done that any better. That grain just lined up really nicely. Let's see what happens if I do it 180 degrees. Still lines up okay, but it looks better at the other 180 degrees. And holy cow, man, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that lines up really nicely. Luck. Luck's got to count for something, right? All right, so I'm going to go grab my micromotor. I will be right back. And I'm going to carve this dude so fingers can get into it. Fingers larger than an 8-year-old anyway. Unless that's the only person using it, in which case it doesn't really matter. Let's whip this stuff out here. Tra-la-la. Oh. So, having said all that, if you're in the Traverse City area and you would like to take some classes, please get a hold of me. I'd be happy to work with you. We could work out what it is you'd like to learn and work out that deal accordingly. So I need a cord for power. Guess I'll use this one since it came with it. I'm going to remove that lamp plug again. And then this guy. Oh, you were on and shouldn't be. Wait a minute. Something's not right. It's not spinning. What the hell's going on? That's plugged in all the way. What the hell? Why is it not spinning? What's the deal here? Ah, man, don't tell me. Oh, let's put a bit in it and see. Let's grab, ooh, that guy. I feel like something is missing. Okay, that's not cool. This is not working now. And I feel like something is missing on this handset. Is this another burner? Oh man, this is gonna bum me out big time. This is not cool. This is not cool. What the hell? That's not right. Sorry, folks. I just double checked because I. Something about this isn't working correctly. And I had loaned this tool out.
That is said Howard the Owl.
Hey, Abaddis, how you doing, man? Something is not right, and I guess I'm gonna have to try to take it apart later and see. I guess I should have checked it when I got it back. That's not working. Well, I got what I got for now, so I'm not really pleased, but To the dentist, yeah. Yeah. I do actually have a dental drill. That's what I usually do piercings with on wood, pierced pattern. Okay, what is the deal here? I guess I'm gonna have to take this apart and see what is actually happening, because it's, one, making a noise it hasn't made before, and two, it's not turning half the time. But if I can get it to last till I get through this, I'll be happy. Be happy about the project. I don't know that I can get parts for this anymore. Jack Vessery made these units. I understand he's not doing that anymore. He's not selling them anymore. So there is a possibility he's got handsets. But damn it, man. Sorry if this makes your teeth tingle. Well, that seems to be working all right when I get it working. Ooh, that was bad. Oh, uh-oh. Shit, what did I do? Maybe I made it worse. Yeah, that's definitely making a sound it wasn't making before. So I'm grinding the wood away. I'm carving the wood away with the grain. This is a, geez, what do you call these things? It's like a Kutzall burr, except these are titanium coated or whatever little burrs on here. And, they're in a spherical shape, but all in a line. So since I'm carving this way, I'm kind of sort of making lines this way. I'm trying to be really careful, but since I'm making those lines, I'm doing it in the direction of the grain, so it's not as noticeable. And let's take this one side down a little bit more. While it's running, let's use it. A little bit of chatter marks there. Now they're gone. Okay. Okay, dude, I'm hoping that you're gonna continue to work because I need some more tools out of you. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one am I using? I don't know. Oh, that one. Ah, come on. So I want to round these edges off a little bit. You got to be careful because this is spinning fast and there's possibility of scorching the wood. Let me turn it down some. Still a possibility of scorching the wood, but not so much. Keep working. Just need to get me through the night. And then shine through that edge. Oops, scorched it a little bit. There we go. Yep, that'll work. Clean this up a little bit more here. Keep working for me, man. I'm almost done. There we go. Okay, no sharp edges. And I will look you over later. Figure out what's going on with you. Okay, what's the hold up here? Just that one. Okay. That was disconcerting. That's kind of a bummer. It's been taking place of my Dremel. It's much easier to work with. Although I do have a new Dremel shaft coming, so that will be helpful. All right, I'm going to move this aside. Okay. Ooh, and break off into this. Yes, yes, yes. And now we'll put the finish on it. Grab another paper towel, or at least the finish for the inside, which in this case is walnut oil. Which I'm more than happy to spread around with my fingers because it's non toxic. It is not a petroleum product. It's that guy. So that'll have to dry. Still a little bit wet, but it'll have to dry overnight. But this walnut oil, whoops, does polymerize and leave a nice finish that is fingerprint safe, I guess you could say. Plus, it's food safe. I mean, there we go. Okay, and then this guy. Just get it all swirled around in there and make sure I got good coverage all over the place inside. I need that light now, which is unplugged, Dave. Oh yeah, I forgot. Come on. I think it's time I look for a different light for my lathe. This one I bought talked a really good game, but it's just not worth the money I spent for it, and it was $80. I'm really not happy with it. And it's too late probably, but definitely a hassle to return it, so I'll just use it for other things. It's not what I need for lighting for the lathe. Although, like I said, man, the manufacturer talked a good game. It's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Okay, there's that guy. That guy will fit in there like that. And then once the green is lined up, which side will that be? It looks like it will be that side. I have no delusions about anybody else picking this up and going, gee, I should line up the grain. That's just my gig. Something I really like to see happen. Yep, that was the one. But the grain's definitely lined up. So I'm going to set this inside so it can dry overnight. Yeah, so the plug does lock in. Doesn't need to lock in much. It just needs to hold place. So that works. And I'm having fun doing little vessels like this. Different caps, not the traditional lids, right? And this kind of harkens back to a long time ago. They used to make these wooden jars with these little caps on them, but a little plug just like that. And that was the actual cap. This just protected everything from the outside air, which is all that's designed for. And then this would be the sealing mechanism. Sometimes they were cork. Later on, they didn't start making them out of rubber, but eventually they made some that were out of rubber and silicon. But cork and wood seem to work the best, in my opinion. So there we have it. I will be right back. All right, let's see. This guy goes this way. On the drying rack. Oh, yeah, I'm still live. Yes, I have a drying rack in my living room. It is not stuff that I put dripping wet stuff on. It's I more use it for the walnut oil once I've got things wiped off. I've got a little drying rack in my living room. It also has some unfinished pieces on it as well. But I live alone. And these particular therapies that I use, they're not the only ones that I use, but they're the ones. They're the ones. Nothing. They just have worked really, really well for me, and I'm going to keep utilizing them for as long as I can. Till I get too old or whatever it is to do anything on a lathe, till I get too old or whatever it may be to work with the bees. I will keep doing them because they work. They are fantastic. All right, so I'm looking at the clock here. It looks like there is 20 minutes or so left. So I think that I'm not going to start another project, but I am going to turn off that tonight. But let me turn around. Okay, this is the piece that I sealed last week with CA glue. So we're going to turn this cherry burl, and I've got, what did I do with the other piece? I put the other piece. Are you the other piece? No, you are a mesquite. You are not the other piece. So I've got another piece of burl around here somewhere that is going to be, I think this is actually going to be the lid because I have so much wood not there, if that makes any sense. It's not a complete cylinder, a lot of bark, and I wanted to make a lidded box. This is, no wait, this is not the one that I hit with glue. This is the one I wanted to use as a lid. Although I did hit with this one with glue too. So I'll have to look for the other pieces, but tomorrow I'll be turning a box out of cherry burl. But it will be more of a traditional kind of shape. And let me go get an example so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard for me to describe because I know this is a style that was around. Well, it's been around for a long time. The actual shape is a classic storage jar shape from when they had clay pots and all that kind of thing. And this one was turned out of maple crotchwood burl. Let me add a little bit. I wonder if that helps. So, and this is just a cap, dust cap, and this is, oh, no, I'm going to have to work with that. All right, there we go. That is the plug that fits in it. You can see that They seal really nicely. So a sealed jar, basically, essentially, is what it is. It's a sealed jar. I think in Egypt, what do they call them? The canopic jars, where they take all your innards out when they mummified you, put your brain in one jar, a heart in another, basically this shape, and they were capped like that. But they had a stopper of some type. If I am correct in my memory, made like wooden stoppers. Then they would seal them with wax, and then they'd seal. Or I don't know how they would attach this. I guess I could use some kind of a macrame string situation if I wanted to keep the lid attached to it at all times. But so I'm going to be turning a jar like this out of cherry burl. So I'm looking forward to that. Thought I would get to that tonight, but I did not. So this is basically what I'm doing. I'm as you can see, I'm playing around with sealed jars. I guess you could call it a sealed jar. Yeah, different shapes, and this is what I called like doing a series. Right, I have the idea, I have a general shape, and I start playing with those shapes and different ideas and how I'm going to accomplish those things. So with the last one, which was, I'm calling it a thistle jar, right, because it had that shape of the head of a thistle, even with the cap on it sticking up. That's why I made it that way. But it's a sealed jar. It's just a little bit different than this. So I'm playing around with that idea and coming up with a shape that I like the most, and I'll start turning some of those, I think, for sale. But this is basically the idea. Oops. So I'll be right back. Put this back on the display shelf, I guess. There we go. I think the key to those things, and the key to like needle boxes and stuff like that, is the tapered plug. And you got to get that taper just right for it to actually lock in like it's supposed to. Let's shut that off. I have let me see, it's down here. Let me find it. There it is. So I do turn needle boxes with little magnets in the stopper. And how I do that is I got a tempered reamer. This is the size I got. They come in all kinds of different sizes. Let me change. Oh, yeah, the camera's already on. So it's just a tapered reamer. I bought this one from Amazon, probably. But the set comes with the drill bit to size the hole properly, and then it comes with the reamer and a little handle for the reamer, so you can do it by hand. But I just put this in my Jacob chuck, and when I'm making those little needle boxes, I make them with a tapered stopper, so the stopper will hold everything in place. And with these stoppers, basically it's a quarter to a half a turn will engage those wood fibers and keep it in place, which I think is a really neat feature. So what I found early on, that's the biggest deal when you're using tapered stoppers, that the taper has to match the hole it's going into, or it won't lock correctly, it won't sit right, and it can be kind of a fudge factor sometimes. Definitely it's something that I work on sneaking up on, except for this reamer. This reamer I know it's the stopper that I turn that I have to get that taper on correctly, and it can be a little fiddly sometimes. So, but they come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. That one was just what, a 5/8 or 3/8, something like that. I don't know. I didn't even read it. 3 to 12 millimeter taper. So 3 to 12 millimeters, I can make a taper, 3 millimeters if I want to. But I use the full, the actual fullest width to get those stoppers in there, because that gives you about that much space, which is maybe 3/8 of an inch, a little bit less, but about that much space to put needles in there. Because the needle box is tapered, the needles will go straight in. They won't, they'll drop in and center up. They'll center themselves up in the needle case. So you can put a bunch of needles in there, and they'll all line up. They won't land willy nilly like if you had just a straight cylinder. Even though it's a very small cylinder, they can go cockeyed and do weird things. But anyway, the taper stopper, I thought with those was the way to go, and it turns out it is, because they do sell. So if you want to try that, and I will probably, actually, that'd be something fun to turn on this channel. I could turn some needle holders. I should do that. But tomorrow night, we're going to be working on this guy and the other mated piece, which I have around here somewhere. They didn't get far. They couldn't have, because I didn't take them anywhere. I just don't remember where I set it. So, so once I figure that out, I can get these running. And we'll make that stopper jar tomorrow evening. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I got basically about 10 minutes to go. So if there's any questions or comments out there, chat is always open. You can do it anytime during the broadcast. But if you waited till now, now's your chance before I sign off. Or you can catch me tomorrow night if you want to wait. That's fine too. Any questions, comments, throw them up in chat, man. I'll happily answer anything I can. If I don't have the information, I might know where to find it. Yeah, like that. So this Twitch Tuesday, thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Dave, and Abida says, nice. Hey, thanks, man. I'm glad you made it too. It's nice to see you hanging around, man. Looking at.
Values said, did you say you're back tomorrow?
Yes, sir. I'll be back tomorrow evening, 8 to 11. But I've been paying attention to the countries that people sign on. And I'm just like thrilled, because I got people in Madagascar, people in Egypt, people in other places sign on. Canada.
Maybe I can catch you early tomorrow.
Groovy. Hopefully you can. People, Canada, Abacus is in Canada. And so it's just really cool, man, to see people from all over the place tuning in.
Have you ever turned petrified wood?
No, I don't have the tools for that anyway. I think I'd need diamond tip tools and burrs and stuff like that. And even then, I don't know if I'd be able to turn it. I'd probably have to grind it away like on a rock saw, a rock polisher or something like that. Because it's agate and rock. But no, I've never turned any petrified wood. I'd love to someday. Wouldn't that be awesome to have a box, even a bowl out of a piece of petrified wood? That would be just kick ass. So yeah, I turn wood all the time. Here's this. That would be pretty. You know what? I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that done, man. I'll have to hire somebody probably that's got the right equipment. I couldn't do it on this lathe. I don't know. I don't even think carbide would cut agate for sure. I don't think so. Not that all petrified wood is agate, but a lot of it is. Just whatever mineral deposits they happen to be. Damn good question, I have to say. But nope, haven't tried it, because it's just too darn hard for the tools that I use. Someday I'll figure it out, man. I think that'd just be the neatest thing. Especially if it winds up in the dirt again and goes another 100,000 years, and somebody in the future finds it and go, oh, they turned this and then it petrified itself. No, no, it was petrified the whole time. That might be cool. Anyway, my name is Dave. If you came in late, I'm a wood turner. Started turning therapy for PTSD. Found out I had a knack for it. Fell in love with it. Started teaching it. Fell in love with that. So I started this channel to become a better teacher and a better demonstrator, and also a better turner, because I understand the main basic rule of wood turning, and the secrets behind it. And the secret is practice. Yes, that's it. You heard it here first. The secret is practice. There is no shortcut. There is no super secrets or no secret handshake or whatever that you can get you to a certain level. You have to put the time in. But that's the reason why I turn on, live on this channel. I turn a lot of other times too, but this way I get to practice my demonstration skills, my teaching skills, communication, stuff like that while I'm turning, which is a big deal because when you're doing a demo, you're kind of expected to talk while you're going along in a lot of cases. And most of the time that when I take a pause is because I'm doing a cut that takes more of my brain power, to get because wood turning is mostly finesse. That's just the way it is. It's how you work the tool. You have
Paranoid
sharp,
squatch.
sharp,
So,
sharp
you
tools.
mean you can't just will it into existence?
I never said that. I never said that ever. I'm just not sure how to. I didn't say I couldn't. If I could, I would. That'd be the. I just think that having something ever turned out of petrified wood would be really a conversation starter for sure. I think that would be great. Uh, um, but yeah, I mean, I turn a lot. Not, I mean, I call myself a wood artist. Of course, other people call me a wood artist too. It's not just me, but I call myself a wood artist because I turn unique pieces, and and most of them are one of a kind. Um, I do production turning and stuff like that. My passion though is throwing a lump of timber up on the lathe and working with the wood and it helping it dictating the shape. And that's why I like to turn starting between centers and on the balance point, because from there, once it's in the balance point, my vibration is almost entirely eliminated. So I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I can just take my sharp tools and start working. But it's also I've been turning. Well, I say I've been turning for 8 years. I've been turning for actually 10 years, but not 10 years of normal time. The first couple years, well, actually, it kind of stayed the same. But the first couple of years, I spent way more than your typical 9 to 5 hours at a lathe. I spent a lot more time because I was really, really getting into using it as therapy. I still use it as therapy. But it was in the beginning parts of that. And so not only was I doing all the practice when I couldn't sleep or had nightmares or, whatever the reason was that I was not in bed, I was not at a bar drinking, I was not taking drugs. No, I was spending my time at the lathe and putting my frustrations into this and learning how to allow those things to flow through. Right, I'm still learning how to do that. Not letting those thoughts stop me what I'm doing right now, because being in the moment at the lathe, that is the therapy I'm looking for, to be in that space where everything is calm. Everything's calm. Things are still moving through, but nothing's lighting on fire, if that makes any sense. Still have those issues happening. I still get to work on them in the back of my mind because my body's taking over. Sometimes my brain takes over a little bit, but it's my body's taking over and doing it because I have the muscle memory. So I can allow my mind to relax and get into that state of being in the right now. And for veterans, that is huge. That is huge, because so many of us spend so much time back where we were, or wondering how we're going to get to where we think we need to be, or casting ourselves into the future, living into the past. And life is right now. So this is just amazing therapy for that, and I highly recommend it. I live it. I highly recommend it. It's great. It's not the only therapy that I use. I've got a fantastic spiritual advisor, I guess you could say, who works with me a lot. But these therapies, when I'm on my own, beekeeping, woodturning, that helps me maintain that space in my head where I'm calm and I can look at things rationally instead of having a fear response or any other kind of emotional response that's not appropriate. So, anyway, having said all that, thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you for helping me participate in therapy. It's great. I love talking about wood turning and beekeeping as long as people will let me do it. Because, I mean, it works. And there's so much to talk about in either subject. There's a wide library of things about beekeeping that I still want to learn. There's a bunch of stuff I have learned, but I mean, man, there's always more. And the same thing with wood turning. There's always something new to learn. And I want to learn. I want to be engaged. I want to be engaged in my own life. And these are some of the ways that I get there. I hope they work the same for you. And if you would allow it, I'm sure it could be. And again, if you're in Traverse City, or if your club would like a demonstration, like to hire me, man, I'll do a demonstration for your club. I think would be great. I could do it remote, or we could do it in person. That works for me. If you are in Traverse City and you would like to take classes, get a hold of me, man. We can work something out. Art is definitely a therapy, but wood turning is just fun to begin with. I mean, you get to satisfy the human need for wanting it right now, right? Because you can watch it happen right before your eyes while you're making it, and so that instant gratification, a little gene or whatever it is we have programmed into our heads, that gets satisfied, and that is an amazing feeling. So anyway, I highly recommend it. Let's put it that way. So thank you for joining me on this Twist Tuesday. I'll be back again tomorrow night, 8 to 11 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much for your support of this channel. I hope you all stay friendly. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow night or next week, one of the two.
Say, have a great night.
Thanks, man. You too. And you got to let me know, dude, when you're going to get on the lathe. Have you done that yet? I know you're working and it's busy, but you got to let me know, dude. I want to see some pieces. Got to see some pieces. All right. Good night, folks. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.
About is, say, will do.
Groovy. Thank you.